Lazy Raspberry Cobbler. It doesn't sound like an exciting name, but the cobbler itself is exciting. It's all put together in one bowl. The fruit is then just poured right on top. It bakes in the oven to form this beautiful crust cobbler on top. And let me tell you something, it really is lazy because it takes no work at all, but actually tastes like it took a lot of work. So let's make it so you can have one that tastes just like this. I call this lazy cobbler because it is the rescue cobbler. It is the, oh, what if I don't like to bake cobbler? It is the, I am not good at baking cobbler, or I'm really not good in the kitchen, I don't have any time for anything. This is the cobbler that is very hard to make that excuse for because it is so simple, and you can see from the ingredients in front of me, we're talking pantry staples. We're talking sugar, flour, milk, baking powder, vanilla, some salt, and some butter. Now today is a raspberry lazy cobbler, and that means we're using fresh raspberries, but guess what? Bonus, with this recipe, you can also always use a frozen fruit. Just let them thaw slightly, but you can use that liquid that's on them too. So that's how simple this is. And the reason we call it lazy is there's minimal mixing, there's minimal bowls we need, and really the preparations are more of a quick process, but I would not say they are hard. I would actually say they're the opposite. So this is the perfect thing if you want to get maybe kids involved in the kitchen, or just someone that's not used to it or do something. This is a hard one to get distracted with because it's so easy. So what we are starting with is our baking dish. And instead of spraying it or anything, we are gonna take our butter and we're gonna put it right in this baking dish. I know, this is a big ask. And all we're gonna do is set this in the oven that is preheated. You could also put it in while the oven is preheating. Just watch a little closer because sometimes it makes it extra hot. But I'm gonna set this in here and I'm gonna let that butter melt. While the butter is melting, which takes a few minutes, we just have to put together a quick, what we call a cobbler. Now this isn't necessarily a true cobbler, this is a lazy cobbler. And you've probably seen these. This is like, my family has made this. My grandma, my mom have made this for years. Another kitchen I worked in at a retreat center made this because it's one of those that you can just use with whatever season's fruit you have, and it always turns out. So we're gonna start with the dry ingredients, which is some flour. Now, just like I would do for any flour, I'm using my normal method where I have a scoop, and I like to scoop it into my measuring cup and overfill. This is a way to make, you're pretty much sifting the flour as you're doing this, and then you swipe it off. Now, did you know when recipes always called for sifting flour? It's because way back in the day, back in yesteryear, they did not have the best milling for flour, and there would be larger irregular pieces in it, and you'd really have to sift it to get rid of those. Now we don't have that issue. So we can actually do what I just did, where you're kind of lightly putting it in so you don't overpack or overfill your measuring cup. Then we're gonna go with some sugar. Now, sugar anymore is a hot button issue. I totally am someone too that loves to down the sugar. Desserts is the one place where I like to have sugar because it's a dessert, it's a treat. But if you feel like your fruit is super sweet, don't put as much sugar in, and that is just fine. It kind of goes by, you have to go sometimes by your taste, by your intuition in the kitchen. Fruit can vary depending if it's in season or not. We're using raspberries because even if they're not in season, you can usually find them, or you can get them in the frozen section, they're always good. So along with that, we're gonna do some baking powder. You're gonna notice there's no egg here. So our leavener is coming just like it would kind of from a biscuit, from the baking powder. So that baking powder is gonna help it have a little bit better, lighter texture, and just overall give it the kind of the appeal we want. Now to that, we're also gonna add some salt. Salt balances out flavor. Along with the sweetness, it brings out more flavor in the raspberry. So we're gonna put the salt right in there. And then we can talk about a little bit of flavoring, some vanilla. Not a lot, but you know, vanilla in anything sweet, it rounds out the flavor and gives it a fuller flavor. So you notice, I'm not even gonna whisk this first. I'm just gonna put everything right in here. So you have some vanilla. I home make my vanilla, so you can even see the oils in the vanilla beans that come out in it. And then the next is milk. Now, just like I would with any milk or any baked good, I actually like to use whole milk because it has a more rich, beautiful flavor. And when I'm whisking this, I want you to see the little oils I was talking about in my vanilla beans when I home make my vanilla. That's what's coming out right there. There's specks of vanilla oil. It's beautiful. If you don't know how to home make vanilla, I have a recipe on my website. Again, hardly needs a recipe. So we're just whisking this until it's all combined. It's gonna be a very thin batter, which is exactly what we want. So don't be scared. This is the rescue cobbler that you're gonna end up loving to make. Your kids, your friends, your family, they're gonna love it too. So this is whisked. We're just gonna wait till that butter is melted. Then we're gonna dump it all together. Maybe we should call this dump cobbler. I just pulled this out of the oven. You can see it's all melted. I make sure it's all around the bottom. So the reason you do this is one, it coats the bottom, but it will also coat around the cake or the cobbler itself kind of. So now all we do It's whisked, it's ready. I do it a final whisk just to make sure. This is one of those so easy things. It's kind of like with a box mix. If you're making something, you feel like you need to make it extra work. Did you know with box mix cakes, that's why they have you add in things like eggs and milk at home? Originally they didn't, but people thought it was too easy, that it wasn't real. Same thing, this is almost too easy. So I'm gonna pour this in and just kind of make sure it's even, but guess what? It does it on its own. So just make sure you get it all the way out of there. This is my mom in my head. I hear her every time I'm doing this, and she would look over my shoulder and say, you did not scrape that well. So even when I'm doing these videos, I make sure I scrape it. So I'm not gonna apologize for that because it's all that goodness. You want it all in there. So you don't have to stir this together or anything. It does it all in the oven. You can, if you want to, draw it in. You really don't have to. I just feel like, why not? Let's make it look pretty. So what we're doing now is just putting our fruit right on top. And as this bakes, it encompasses the fruit. You'll see the fruit. And what's fun about this, the raspberries are beautiful. So we're just gonna set them all around. And why am I doing it with my hand? Because it helps you place them a little bit better so they're more even. So this might be the most picky thing about this cake, cobbler, is that it just, if you place them, it looks better. So now that they're placed and we're just finishing them up, we're gonna throw this right into the oven. We're gonna let it bake. We're gonna enjoy it. We're gonna eat it. Honestly, you better have ice cream ready when you make this because that's what you're gonna want. The cobbler baked, and now I let it cool just a little bit. You can see hints of those red raspberries underneath. So what it usually does is, like you see here, it comes up kind of over those raspberries, encompasses them like a cobbler would, has the fruit somewhat on the bottom. It's mixed in together too. But this is just such a simple, homey recipe, cozy recipe, that you can't go wrong with it. So to serve it up, of course, it's amazing with your favorite ice cream, with whipped cream, but I want you to see what it's like just as it is. So do you see all that beautiful red raspberry underneath it? And as I push this off, you're gonna see it right here. See all that? And it's just falling off. There's no need to thicken those fruit because they're thickened with that excess batter as it's baking. So you don't need cornstarch with the fruit or anything. That's what I kind of love about this. It's just simple and has that nice thin layer of that cakey cobbler on it. Let me tell you something. This is like those old time homey recipes that they just are good. It's so fruit forward. There's nothing drowning out that fruit flavor. The cobbler on top just enhances it with this nice buttery, almost crust-like topping. It's absolutely delicious. I have nothing else to say about it other than I think once you try it, it's gonna be a little addictive because of how easy it is. This is one of those that makes you think, why do I buy something when I can make it at home? This simple and this good. So that's what I hope you do with this recipe. I hope you share it around so others can see that if I can make it here at my farm in Iowa, you can make this too. It's just as easy no matter where you are with the fruit you can find, frozen or fresh, to enjoy this. So gather people around, that's what good food should do. Check my website, wiseguide.com, for this full recipe and all my other recipes. They're all on my website. Till next time, enjoy it.